Hello folks, I do believe it's time for some more hobby nightmares. I hope you're doing well and having a wonderful day. We are going into Friday, but it's Thursday today, so maybe I'll upload this today on Thursday, or maybe I'll do it on Friday. I'm not sure yet. One of the two. We may have a day off of videos this week. I'm not sure, depending on how much work I get done, because the school year is up and running again, which means I have a lot of panicked parents emailing me wanting tutoring done for kids who are woefully behind after the summer holidays. So we're going to see where we go this week. If I think I get time tomorrow to record, I'll upload this today. If not, I'll save this for tomorrow. We'll see. All right, let's go in, shall we, with Toast. How's it going, Toast? And he says, "Hello, Mr. North. My name is Toast. I'm a new fan of the channel and I've been really enjoying your content whenever I'm at work or hobbying at home." Well, thank you very much, man. "Although I'm a 40k player, my story is about the first and only time I've played a tabletop role-playing game. Because this was my own experience, I'm not sure exactly how egregious this is, but everybody I've told the story to seems to think it's pretty appalling. This story happened about 4 or 5 years ago, so please excuse any fuzzy details." No problem at all. Let's see if it is appalling, shall we? Watch your ears, ladies and gentlemen. "I was a part of a rather large friend group who would get together every single Saturday. It was large enough to where there were multiple subgroups all doing different activities. We were playing some classic GameCube games, and the other section of the friend group were playing Dungeons and Dragons. This piqued my interest quite a lot, as I generally like fantasy, and I had even recently started playing Magic the Gathering. So, this seemed right up my alley. I had obviously heard of D&D before, but never really looked into it. After their session, I asked if I could tag along and play, and the Dungeon Master, let's call him Noah, agreed. He would make a one-shot for us to try in a few weeks' time. When that time came, I showed up and they were setting up the game. I was handed a set of different dice, including the illustrious D20, which I'd never even seen in person before. We ate some pizza and then got to business. I was told to make a character and taught how to make one. This took an incredibly long time, as nobody else had made theirs beforehand either. About an hour and a half later, and we were ready to play. At least I thought so. But everybody seemed to be just messing around and not actually playing. Funny side note, I made a paladin and was told to choose a god to serve. I asked if I could make my own. I was told yes, and so, for a laugh, I chose Jesus. Okay, alright. I have to say, Toast, that's pretty cringe. I'm not gonna lie. You're either... If somebody did that at a game I was playing, I would think you were some sort of smarmy, arrogant, look-down-nose atheist. One of those kinds of atheists, do you know what I mean? And by the way, in the early to mid-noughties, there was a massive movement online of atheism, right? Of people, like, making fun of religious folk. It was a more innocent age, what can I say, right? We didn't have all of the trans issues, we didn't have any of the, all of the political leanings left and right having to go at each other all the time. It was literally the original free-for-all online, on YouTube, on Twitch, and everything was atheists against religious people. That was it, right? I know. Most of those guys were scientists who would debunk the Bible, and they would get quite a lot of attraction doing that, because people liked to dunk on people for liking things, or for believing in things. I'm not religious, by the way. I consider myself, agnostic, or maybe not agnostic. I believe that, I believe there's something out there, but I'm not sure what it is, basically, right? So I'm more spiritual than religious. Anyway, and I don't judge you if you have a religion. All power to you. If wherever you find your discipline, if religion is the thing you use to find discipline, all power to you, my friend. And I respect your choices, and maybe one day I'll be there with you. I don't know. All I know is I'm not arrogant enough to think that I know all the answers. A lot of the atheist community were actually arrogant enough to believe they had all the answers, and it was a community that very swiftly cannibalized itself, because the people who were in the community were generally, in general, there were so a few good eggs here and there, but mostly generally, they weren't very nice people. right? And wouldn't you know it, the not very nice people turned on each other in the end, right? The same thing we see with far left and far right political leaning people, right? They turn on each other in the end. They cannibalize themselves because you're not woke enough, right? You're not, I'm more woke than you, so that means you don't belong here, you're a Third Reich person, right? That kind of thing. What do you mean you're just left of center? What a racist. That kind of stuff, right? They cannibalize each other in the end. And so you saying, if you were in a game with me and you said, oh yeah, I'm following Jesus, like in a laughy way, even though I'm not religious, I'd roll my eyes, dude. I'd be like, this guy's a douche. This guy obviously thinks he's clever, right? So me and the missus, again, I will get back to the story in a second, but you're here for segues. The amount of people say, why are you always doing segues? Dude, look at my other videos. That's what you're here. If you just want me to read this out verbatim, then go read about it somewhere else. Not that you can, this was sent just to me. But there's loads of different things on Reddit you can go and read that are similar to this, so just go and read it yourself. Anyway, me and the missus watched the movie last night called Eddington, right? And it was probably the worst thing ever made by a human being. And I'm being legitimate when I'm being honest with you when I say that. I never say this in a movie theater, but I turned to my missus and I said, quite loudly in the theater, I've seen some dumb shit in my time, but that takes the biscuit, right? And a bunch of people around me started mumbling and nodding, going, yeah, nonsense. No, there was this part of the movie where the movie, by the way, is set in May 2020. So yeah, during the pandemic and during the George Floyd stuff. And it's about, like, cops and brutality, and it wasn't what it was marketed as. It was marketed as some sort of modern Western, which is right up my alley, and it wasn't that. It was Joaquin Phoenix and Pedro Pascal wagging their fingers at the audience, telling us that we're all really bad people for being white for about 2.5 hours. Again, a wonderful time for all the family. And anyway, there's this part where the kids in this story are getting together. They're protesting the BLM riots. They're going, down with white people and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, so this kid who's called I think it's called Jimmy, right? And he's also white. He's from a very privileged background, and he's there doing all of the thing. And he's been roped into it by a hot girl that he likes, who's also really like an SJW back then, right? That's what they were called. And so he's only there to get some pussy, basically. You got to do what you got to do. And eventually he gets sucked in by the movement, and he goes back to his mum and dad's house, and it just cuts to them at the table, and he's telling them about what he's doing, right? And he's just saying, basically, I'm here to get rid of white culture and to dismantle whiteness and all things, and I think that's really good. And the dad just looks at him and goes, Jimmy, are you retarded? and the whole place laughed. All of the theater laughed, and they're not laughing with the movie; they're laughing with the dad at the movie, right? Because the movie was doing a joke about, oh, look how ignorant this dad is, and the entire theater was just laughing along with him, going, "Yeah, are you retarded? Like, what is wrong with you?" And he goes, "Jimmy, are you retarded? You are white." The whole place was just giggling and laughing. And it was the best part of the movie. And they were trying to make a point about how this guy was so ignorant and bigoted, and he's such a horrible person. And that was the only time that dad appeared in the entire movie. And he did the best line. And it was just and this, I turned to my missus afterwards and I said, do you know people who are really far on either political spectrum, right or left, right? They always do jokes like this, where they think they're telling a joke that makes the person look bad, but all they do is prove the point to the people listening. Do you know what I mean? Or you're laughing with the guy they're making a joke against. They're making a joke against the dad, but we all agree with him. So you're just exposing how stupid you are. That kind of a thing. And it just fell flat, dude. It just fell flat. Anyway, I needed to get that rant off my chest because I fucking hated that movie. It was 2.5 hours of my life that I'm never getting back. Don't go and watch it. It's awful. Anyway, I'm really sorry, Toast. I will get back to your hobby nightmare. That's probably the longest tangent I've ever been sent on. But hey, congrats. We are now about 2 hours in, and the Dungeon Master has only now begun to explain the rules to me. After many questions and clarifications, along with everybody still goofing off, we're now slowly approaching 3 hours in and we haven't even started. Finally, the game starts, and I get to have fun for a bit. After an introductory combat encounter, we enter a small town with a general goods store, and this is where the problems start. The party decides to enter the store and immediately begins to harass the NPC shopkeeper. I try to tell the party that we need to get supplies and we shouldn't be messing with somebody who can help us, but I seem to be completely ignored. This harassment of the shopkeeper goes on and on and on. I keep trying to get the party to, play the game, but they aren't having any of it, and I'm just being walked all over. The rest of the time, I just sat there not saying anything because I had effectively lost all agency and was being railroaded into being a bastard despite being a bit of a paladin. Oh, the party eventually ended up just killing the shopkeeper and robbing him for his gold, not taking any supplies with them. Hooray, I guess. Yeah, you're playing with murder hobos. This is murder hoboing 101. Like, literally murder hoboing 101. At this point, pack up your stuff and go home. If you're the DM, you failed. Right? Your players are dicks, don't get me wrong, but you have failed as a DM. You need to stop the game and, walk. So, nearly 4 hours in, and all we have done is one combat encounter and kill the shopkeeper. This is by far one of the most dull gaming experiences of my life, almost up there with making myself play Devil May Cry 2. But it doesn't end there. Our party enters a cave... Some shade thrown at Devil May Cry 2 there. It's a bit weird. Our party enters a cave system to fight some goblin lord or whatever. I forgot exactly what it was. But someone had to pass a skill check. Now, this is important. I was sitting close to the left side of the DM. Alright. The DM made a roll and I happened to see it was past the screen. I was never told to not look at his rolls and I had no idea I wasn't supposed to do that. But not just that, it was a complete accident. It was a cool moment as I noticed the DM had rolled high, but Noah was not happy. It wasn't an explosive reaction. He told me never to look behind his screen, but he would not let it go throughout the rest of the night, constantly checking to see if I would look before rolling his dice, and bringing it up over and over again. I felt like I had ruined the game by the end of it. Even by the end, when talking to Noah about the game, he reminded me one more time, "Oh yeah, despite you looking at my roll, you did fine." Gee, it sure didn't feel like I did. We murdered the hell out of that Goblin King, at least. The entire session was around 6 hours. And keep in mind, the majority of the time was spent goofing off in a game and out of game. So, we maybe actually only got an hour and 15 minutes of actual game time in. As funny as it is to say, when I play a game, I play the game to play the game, not to sit there doing nothing and being ignored whenever I try to do something. In summary, constant time wasting, being ignored, railroaded into doing stuff I wouldn't want to do, and a DM who held a grudge for the rest of the session, all on my first and as of now, last session of D&D. Okay, one thing I need to say to you about D&D is, so I'll get back to this. I told this story to a friend of mine who has DM'd many different games, and he said what happened was ridiculous, so I'm inclined to believe this was an outlier. He said that the DM should have made pre-made characters since this was only a one-shot, and probably made a better effort into making sure I had a good time. I can't quite get that horrible taste out of my mouth though, but it's not all doom and gloom, as after many years, I'm starting to warm up to the idea of trying it one more time. A buddy of mine is making a dark fantasy campaign inspired by my favourite manga Berserk, and I want in, as you should. That sounds awesome. Like a role-playing campaign based loosely on Berserk, like not the same setting but similar. Dude, go for it. I also love Battletech and would love to try playing the MechWarrior RPG. Thirdly, I saw your series for Cyberpunk 2087, and that also gives me an itch to try again. It also makes me want to DM my own Cyberpunk one-shot even someday. But I'd love to know your thoughts on this, and have some final confirmation on if this really was a fluke or not. Thank you for reading, and keep up the good work. I think there's two things going on here. Number one, clearly your friend is a good DM, right? So, I would also take his advice with a pinch of salt. Because D&D is such a massive thing in the space that every single time you sit down to a Dungeons and Dragons game, you don't know what you're going to get. Because you're getting what I like to call, and I said this the other day, in my Games Workshop video, a vertical slice of the hobby. You're getting everybody at that table because you're playing D&D. So you're getting the worst. And let's be honest, most of the people watching Critical Role and things like that are D&D based are not very good role players. They are people who will generally derail campaigns. There are people who will want to make it all about themselves. They are people who want to be writing their own novel and want to like have it play out in front of them on the tabletop, right? And you'll get the odd really good role player. Yeah, they will be there because you're getting a vertical slice, but you're getting everybody. The reason why tabletop role-playing games are booming right now, even the smaller ones, is that if you play Shadowrun, or if you play Cyberpunk, or if you play Pendragon, or if you play Traveller, you know exactly what you're getting and the kind of people who are going to turn up to your table. Right? The reason why Vampires kind of gone by the wayside is because it's become like D&D. You don't know who's going to turn up now. It doesn't have a set theme. They've taken away all of the hard edges, so now you're no longer really playing monsters, you're playing glorified Twilight vampires, and it doesn't really work, because now you're inviting everybody to your table, and the game doesn't have a theme. If your game has a set theme, you know full well, okay, this could be good, right? We could be going to a table and seeing some cool stuff happen, is what I'm saying. So, yeah, your friend might be right, technically. He's right in that if you go to a tabletop role-playing game session, you know, of another game, he's right. What you experienced is an outlier. Going to a D&D session, I don't think your story is as outlandish as you think it is, right? I think it is a lot more common in D&D than any other role-playing game out there. Not just because D&D isn't a very good game, because it isn't, right? But also because you're getting such a vast vertical slice of the hobby. Everybody's in there. Do you know what I mean? And you're going to get bad actors. Is what it is. And when you look at the standard bearers for that form of role-playing game, your Critical Roles, Dimension 20, guys like that, right? These are all amateur dramatics people who aren't really role-playing. You know? They're playing to a crowd. They're playing to a gallery. They're not really role-playing. They're acting, right? There's a stringent difference there between the two, right? So, again, it's all about picking, like in 40k, it's about picking your opponent. It's about picking the game you want to play. All right, cool. Moving on. Dr. Orion is up next. He says, "Greetings, North. This is more of a request for advice instead of a typical hobby nightmare. Well, it is technically feels Friday, even though I'm recording this on a Thursday, so let's jump into it. While studying for my PhD, I collected a vast Horus Heresy army. This was during 2nd edition. I enjoyed the hobbying, but failed to really get around to the gaming part, only playing 3 games of 2nd edition. Then, in the space of a few months, 3 things happened. Number 1, I completed my PhD. Number 2, I got a new job in a new city and relocated. And number 3, Horus Heresy 3.0 and the Rules and Wargear Massacre occurred. My new job gives me a bit more free time compared to what I had during my PhD, and I had initially intended to dedicate some of that time to playing more games of 30k. However, the Wargear options make 3/4 of my army illegal. The Legacy Units PDF did not fix as much as people like to say that it did. The changes to the core rules also seem like a step in the wrong direction to me. Thus, I have no interest in playing the new edition or buying the new rulebooks. I have joined the local Heresy Discord, but unfortunately everyone there, for some lunatic reason, seems to be on the 3.0 hype train. I get the impression a lot of them came from 40k, fleeing the disaster that is 10th edition, and therefore do not have an existing army to be decimated by the Wargear changes. They are also probably far too used to the poor rule writing and Wargear callings which have been present in 40k for the wrong side of a decade. I have considered asking if anyone is still interested in Horus Heresy 2.0, but I've never gone through with it, as I do not want to be the one guy telling everybody the game they enjoy was better in the previous edition. Again, I am new to this city and do not know anybody in the hobby, so I feel like a little bit of an outsider in an environment filled with Games Workshop apologists. How would you approach this problem? I'm looking forward to Outer Circles edition of Horus Heresy. From what I've heard, it sounds like exactly what 3.0 should have been. Taking what worked in 1 and 2 and merging them together. A natural progression, not just a rule shake-up for the sake of changing things and generating controversy. Thank you for the advice. I'm certain you've just given cordially, Dr. Ryan. I'd go ahead with it, mate. I'd go ahead, because at the end of the day, what are you doing right now? Right now, Iron, you're doing nothing. So, if you go to this group and you say, does anyone want to play 2.0? And at worst, they call you out and say, oh, anti-games workshop, right? Do you know what you'll do? Play no games. But you're playing no games now. You have nothing to lose. Okay? So go in there and say, listen, guys, I honestly prefer 2.0. Would anybody be willing to play 2.0 with me? Maybe I can change a few minds. Or are you already into 2.0? Let me know. I'd love to play it with you. I really enjoy it. Dude, that's fine. That's all you need to say. What I just said, just say that. Be polite. Be positive. Don't, you can say you prefer 2.0 without shitting all over their loves and their hobby. You can say, listen, guys, I know everyone likes 3.0, but I'm not really into it. I've tried it. It's not for me. I love 2.0. I love Heresy 2.0. Would anybody be willing to try it with me if you guys have not played it before? Or if you have played it before and you enjoyed it, would anybody like a game? I'd love to get playing with you guys. It'd be really cool. If you're really polite like that, the worst you'll get is, nah, we all like 3.0. And then okay, fine. And then you leave. Right? Or maybe the worst you'll get is like, oh, you're a Games Workshop hater. Like, well, yeah, okay, fine. But then they're all fucking retards. You can leave anyway. You know what I mean? So, I honestly, man, just do it. Just do it. Take the plunge. Take the chance. And moving on. It's Ghost. Ghost is back again. He says, hello, North. Ghost from Texas back again. Sorry to hear about your grandfather. Hope you're doing well. My condolences. Thank you very much. I have a hobby nightmare that is maybe not a nightmare, but a strange encounter. Take a sip whenever you like. I'm not a tea guy, but a fresh Dr. Pepper does the trick for me. Good for you. For starters, I've played Magic the Gathering for a long time now. My girlfriend has barely played maybe a game or two, specifically Commander, on both those regards. My girlfriend has a lot of friends who play, and I've been pressuring her to play as well. Well, she came to me and asked if I'd helped her make a strong deck. I was taken aback a bit and perked up to it. I love helping build decks and brewing, and this was a special occasion for me. We sat down, cracked open my laptop, and I showed her a list of the most popular legendary creatures and told her to pick any one she liked, and I will build it. She settled on Nekusar, the Mind Razor. For those who don't know, Nekusar is a bit of a powerhouse commander. He's 5 mana to cast, but he allows everybody to draw an extra card during their draw step. But the kicker is, every time an opponent draws any cards at all, they lose a life. In Commander, you have 40 life, and there are plenty of cards that can double, triple, copy, etc. that ability. Wheel cards, everybody discards their hand and draws X cards back, and discard hate. If it goes into the grave from your hand, you take damage. Are the bread and butter. Okay, fair enough. You can also throw Infect into the mix, and kill off opponents even quicker if you want to be a that guy. Certain cards swap out normal life loss for Infect counters. If a player hits 10, they just auto-lose. There are very few ways to remove those counters or nullify them in the game. I had my own version of this deck already, and she didn't know until she'd chosen him. I slapped my list and tweaked a few things to her liking. My girlfriend is a big metalhead. Exodus, Municipal Waste, Entombed, Toxic Holocaust, Enforced, Slayer, Frozen Soul, Obituary. One of our local hobbyists makes proxies and is a metalhead too. Completely understood the assignment and fully customized her deck to match her love of metal. Now for the nightmare. Klaus. At some point, the both of us encountered this individual in our separate lives, and both of us met him in college. A 5'10", 180 pounds-ish, pepperoni-faced Hispanic male in his early 20s. Scraggy black hair, half-inch thick glasses, a long-sleeved grey striped shirt that was a size too small, a pink cat-eared beanie and with 3 metal rings in it, a dog collar, and each fingernail was sharpened to an inch-long claw, aka his furry name. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. While Klaus isn't a bad guy, He is also very awkward to be around at times. Example, I'm very obviously trying to have a conversation about 40k with my buddy Eastwood, and he lingers just a few feet away and asks, you guys want to start a pot of Yu-Gi-Oh with me and my friend? I have an extra deck or two. While it's a very polite gesture, Eastwood and I are clearly holding a dice and models, and this is the third time we politely turned him down in the last 30 minutes. Yeah, this is a Spectrum case. Nobody does that 3 times in 30 minutes and gets the same answer every time and doesn't do anything. Do you know what I mean? My girlfriend and I wanted to be out and about this evening, and I wanted to swing by one of the local game stores in town. We brought our decks and sat down so I could teach her the basics of Commander. I brought my own arcades, Trump, Walls deck, that I use to let people test their decks and ideas against. This deck is used so often, its box becomes a catch for all extra cards I pick up. Yet I haven't placed any in my binder or the proper decks yet. I lay out an Olivia Crimson Blade card and leave it out on the table out of the way. This is important for later. We get a round or two in, and up trots Klaus. He just stood there and stared at both of us for a long minute. Finally, a couple of minutes in, I chime up. Hey man, what's up? I say to him. Oh, nothing. Playing some Magic, eh? Yeah, I'm showing insert my girlfriend name, how to play. He stood there for a little longer, before slowly stepping around to being right next to my girlfriend. I saw him do this, and initially thought he was just looking at her proxied cards. He then tried to start up a full conversation with her that she wasn't really interested in. My girlfriend immediately piped up with, hey, isn't this the chick you have a picture of in your bedroom? Pointing at the Olivia card. I love collecting hobby art. Crimson Vow, the set this card comes in, has a box topper art card you can get, and I pinned it to my wall with some of my other art pieces in my room. My dumbass not taking the hint. Yeah, it is. This is a slightly different art piece, but yeah, it's the same character. I can't remember exactly who said it, but one of us asked Klaus to leave, and he immediately shoveled off. Apparently, he has a thing for my girlfriend for a long time, and she has had no interest in him whatsoever. I wonder why. He makes her very uncomfortable every time he is around, and always tries to get close to her or to ask her out. As a funny note, my girlfriend fessed up to me that she thought his actual name was Klaus, but later found out he's a furry and goes by the name Claus, and no one has ever corrected her. Right, so I've been saying it wrong. His name's Claus, as in Santa Claus. Got ya. A lot of you are thinking, North, you're retarded. Maybe. Now, when we visit that game store, or he's present, I put myself between them in any way that I can. I know this wasn't much of a nightmare, but I can say, guys, watch out for your girlfriends and watch out when they get uncomfortable from somebody. Ladies, please tell your man, like mine did, about people like this. It really helps. Thank you all for all you do, North. Cheers. All right. So, okay. Good. Okay. So I'm reading the extra bit you didn't want me to read out. So that's true. I often find girls who will get you into trouble are the ones who expect you to mind read about how they're feeling in terms of being uncomfortable around other men, right? Most of us don't want to get into a fight or don't want to cause a scene, so you need to communicate to us, North, I'm feeling uncomfortable, and I will solve the issue. I will get you out of there. I'll put myself between you and that thing with my back to that thing, so it's got to get around me to get to you. Or I'll tell that thing to piss off. Right? But that problem's getting solved. As any good boyfriend would, right? The problem's getting solved. As soon as you come to us, we're solving it. What you shouldn't do is stand there and sort of... Especially British girls, they're the worst for this, right? So British girls will literally... There's a meme out there of, you know... a British girl's come on face, like you know, they really like you, and it's literally just a resting bitch face just looking at you for a split second and then looking away. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, how do I know you? And she's like, wow, I gave him like a really nice come on look there. Why isn't he coming over? Could you look like a bitch? Could you look like you want to tear my throat out with your teeth? That's why, right? American girls, some of them have this problem. But I'm telling you, from being over there, a lot of them don't. They will come and sit next to you and go, buy me a drink. or they'll smile at you and give you like the come hither, you know, come over, come here, right? That kind of a thing. Happens all the time, right? So yeah, reading intentions in the UK is really difficult. It's really difficult. So if you are feeling pressured or not feeling comfortable in the UK, you have to speak out and say, listen, I'm not feeling comfortable. Can we please go? Now isn't the time for your grey area mind games, girls. All right? You need to tell us how you feel in this situation and we'll solve the problem. You know, same with Americans as well, by the way. Anybody over the world. I only picked up British girls there because they're like, that. It is a big thing over here. Mind reading is something that men are just expected to do, right? It's just like, well, I was really uncomfortable. You didn't see me. You were clapping and doing things. Yeah, well, everyone else was clapping, so... Right. Okay. Right. And every dude over here has had a story like that. They got a girlfriend who, after the fact that when you at a gig... Like, I've done this in a mosh pit before, where you've been in a mosh pit, and she's like, yeah, I'll come in there with you. And she's like, and you're standing there, you're being really calm about being in the mosh pit. And then she goes like, you know, I really felt uncomfortable, didn't want to be there. Like 2 hours later, when you're leaving the venue, and you're like, well, why didn't you say anything? Well, I just assumed you could see I was looking uncomfortable. Dude, you were clapping and shoving people around. Like, what the... And you were smiling the entire time. Shut up. Like, if you told me, I'd have got you out of there straight away, right? Every dude's got a story like that. So anyway, now that I've stopped, I'll stop my bitching and complaining now about the opposite sex, and we'll end Hobby Nightmares there. I love you all a long time. I will speak to you very, very, very soon for some more Hobby Nightmares. Have you ever had anybody like that in your life? Ladies, by the way, give it back to us. Have you had any men like that in your life where you've been like, dude, just give me a straight answer. Like, I need to know what's going on, and they just haven't done that to you. What, you know, they expect you to read their minds. Let me know in the comment section down below. I love you a long time. I'll speak to you very, very, very soon. Have a good one. Bye now.